Run by Dawnaura Weebly, Part 3. How we managed to pry ourselves from each other is still unclear to me, but I was now sitting at one of the long tables in the secretive room. "What happened to you?" I finally asked Jay, who was sluggishly pacing at the end of the lengthy table, entranced in thought. He snapped out of his glazed stare to look up. "You mean us?" He started to walk towards me and took the seat next to mine to continue. "They did the same thing to you, me, and every other gleaning child." He sighed with frustration, as if searching for the way to explain something so complex with simplicity was exhausting him. "There's a reason it's called Gleaning Day, Z. It's how they determine who's fit to work where." "Those tubes?" He halted and looked at me. "Yeah," I responded. "They're like some sort of sensors. They can detect everything about you. Your weight, your height, genetic makeup, personality traits, even your memories, both fresh and subconscious, can be scanned. They use all of this information to determine your best placement in the selected services." "How do you know all this?" I looked at him oddly. He scrunched up his face at my question. "That's not important right now. What's important is the selected service system has been hijacked. It has been for a long time." "What do you mean, hijacked?" "Let's just put it this way. People who should be in important places are not being placed there. Their scan conclusion reports are being altered. People who should be in important positions are being placed in unimportant and lowly positions." "Jay," I gasped. "There's no such thing as one position being over the other. Every service in the bunker is just as important as the next." Jay rolled his eyes as I continued. "What you're saying is nothing more than some dysfunctional, theorized fantasy, Jay." "Listen, the whole one person or service is no better than the other. Yeah, that's true, but there's so much more to it than that, Z. Not everything is so black and white. The educators in the children's sector don't want you to know about those gray areas. They feed you only the perspective they want you to see. Think about it, Z. Yeah, all the services are like cogs in a wheel, and if one doesn't work, the whole thing stops, just like they taught us. But some selected services put you in a position to manipulate how the other cogs function, thus allowing those people the power to change the entire direction of how the whole wheel turns completely," he said. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. What he said was treacherous. "That's blasphemous talk, Jay," I spewed as I leapt from my chair. I pointed a pale, shaking finger at him accusatorily. "How can you say such nasty things about the bunker? It's our home. Without the bunker, we'd be nothing. How dare you, Jay? How dare you say those things?" I sputtered with a burning passion. Jay simply sighed and looked down at the table, shrugging his shoulders in circumvent. He stayed like that until finally I regained my composure and sat back down amid the awkward silence. After some time, Jay broke through the quiet. I guess I should let you know where you are then." He looked up at me and glared. "You're in the utilities sector, also known as the pit. You're a boiler feeder, just like me. Welcome to the rest of your life in the oh-so-important cog in the glorious wheel of Bunker 77. He spat. I froze, hardly believing what he just said. "Boiler feeder? Wait, you mean to tell me that this is part of the main?" My eyes grew wide. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it was going to burst through my chest. "It can't be. The main... But it's..." "Not what they told you?" Jay leaned in, not removing his serious stare from my wide eyes, his point being made so sharply it cut like a knife in the back. Jay must have been able to tell I was steeping in an inner panic and perhaps had gone too far with his stern revelation. His expression softened in pity, and he quickly moved his chair closer to mine, cupping his hands over my trembling ones. This time, I didn't pull my hand away. His closeness was like a warm blanket protecting me from the frosty winds of harsh, bitter truth. "Look, Z, I know this is really hard to take in, but I'm going to look out for you, okay? We're going to make this work." He wrapped his arms around me and let me rest my head on his shoulder. His rhythmic breathing was like a faint lullaby, helping to drown out the whirlwind of thoughts talking one over the other in my head. "One more thing, Z. It's really important. This place, it's our getaway, okay? The Maine has no idea it exists. Only a few of us here in the pits even know about it. Promise me you won't tell anyone. I swore to all my friends that you could be trusted. This is the only sanctuary many of us have. I need you to promise that you won't risk having that taken away from us." "Friends? How could you possibly know anyone in the Maine?" I replied. "I'll tell you about that later, but for now I need you to promise you won't tell anyone about this place. If certain people find out about it, they'll take it away. Just promise me." "All right, I promise," I answered back. I understood why a place like this might be so important to the few who knew about it. It had already served me well, and I just got here. I can only imagine the toll a place like this could have on someone after so many years. We've been down here for a long time, Z. It's time we head back up to the sector before someone realizes we're missing," he said, standing up. "Oh, I almost forgot." He planted a bright smile on his face. "I have your uniform. It's just over there." He pointed to the corner of the room, and I saw a pair of brand new boots atop a folded navy jumpsuit on a small round table in the corner. "I'll go wait out in the hall while you dress," he said shyly. I nodded with a smile. "Try to be quick." He then swiftly turned and headed towards the door. After hurriedly scrambling to get dressed, I jogged briskly into the hall, outside the secret room, where Jay had been waiting on me. When he caught sight of me, he smiled brightly. "You look pretty spiffy in those new duds, Z." "Shut up," I smiled back, my face getting warm. "Are you ready to head back?" "Yep," I beamed, still quite proud of my brand new suit. "All right then, let's get going." He smiled back. Jay walked towards the wall behind us. Like the hall above, there was 3 metal levers on the floor. He fiddled with them a bit, and the secret metal door above slid open, revealing the grate above it. Jay climbed up the loose hanging rope ladder first, removed the grate, and stepped out into the hall above. He then turned to look at me to let me know it was okay for me to come up. I scurried up, and Jay helped me to my feet at the summit. As I stood up, he had already started replacing the grate, then immediately headed towards the levers, which were only a few feet away against the wall. I heard the rusty trap door slip closed. Jay started swishing around some debris and muck back over the levers so they looked undisturbed. He looked over the area for a moment and looked satisfied with the way everything was left. After giving me a quick nod, we started traveling back down the long, narrow halls until we reached the room I had been awakened in before. "Here we are. Pod, sweet pod," Jay said with an accomplished look, hands placed firmly on his hips. "We? You mean the pods are shared?" My eyes grew wide. "Yep. We don't get our own anymore, like in the children's sector. We have about 10 people per pod, plus our watcher. Our pod station's number 2, just in case anyone asks you." "What's a watcher?" I asked. "It's the adult version of a guardian," he replied. "The only difference is they're permanently assigned to a group and don't work in shifts. They live with their assigned group." "They live with us? Weird," I responded. "I know, but the good thing is, our watcher's pretty cool. He isn't quick with his baton, if you know what I mean. Anyway, your group number is the same as your pod section number, just so you know." "So that means I'm group 2, right?" "You got it," he smiled. "You're picking up on this stuff pretty quickly." He winked. I saw what he was doing. He was trying to stay annoyingly positive to distract me from our new lifelong predicament. But as I looked at the broken cots, rusted metal lockers, and grime covering every inch of the walls, it was hard to smile. "So this is where we live for the rest of our lives?" I said in pitiful awe. Jay sighed and moved closer, grabbing hold of my shoulders. I looked up at him. It could have been worse, Z. I mean, at least we got each other, right? He grinned and pulled me in close for a quick hug. Yes, I answered with a smile this time. He was right. With Jay by my side, at least I wouldn't have to suffer this dreaded new life alone. Attention, servants. It's time for midday supplement, the scratchy intercom announced suddenly. Perfect timing, Jay smiled. Let's go, Z. I'll introduce you to some of my friends. I nodded in approval. I was more than ready to find out how he met these people in the first place. Growing up with Jay, I knew he rarely talked to anyone else but me in the children's sector. Matter of fact, many of the children avoided Jay altogether due to his reputation in regards to his miraculous homecoming at from the re-education center. All right, Jay. I'm ready when you are.